24-809 as amended. The following have been notified of the time, date, place, and agenda of this meeting. Morning News, the Lake City Shopper, WBTW, WPD, and WMBF. This agenda is also posted on the Florida County School District 3 website. Madam Secretary, our roll call. Thank you. At this time, please ensure your electronic devices are off or on silent, and our new Dr. Sean Suber, our superintendent, will come before us for a moment of silence. Our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May be seated. Our board, I will entertain a motion regarding the agenda.
I'll move that we approve the agenda. Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Rebecca Yates and a second by Ms. Ruth DeFriar. Is there any discussion? None being noted. All in favor to approve the agenda say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Alright, items for tonight is on the board workshops. I will turn this over to Dr. Suber and his staff for the budget workshop for fiscal year 2026-2027.
Ms. Holmes Gibson, you can do my budget.
Good evening to the chair and other members of the board.
Good evening.
I would like to discuss with you this afternoon our budget process and talk about different things concerning the budget for prior years and current year. First of all, I would like to quickly go over the budget process and then let you know where we are in the budget process. So we have a couple of steps, maybe 10 steps here, 11, and I will go as quickly as possible, but I would like us to all know the budget process. Budgeting is the process of allocating finite resources to the prioritized needs of a school district. The budget represents the legal authority to spend money for developing an instructional plan to meet the student performance goals. Adoption of a budget implies that a set of decisions has been made by the governing board and administrators, and that culminates in matching the district's projected revenues with the projected needs of the district. As such, the budget is a product of the planning process. In January, the Finance Office begins monitoring the state budget process and will receive initial revenue projections from the House Ways and Means Committee and the House budget from the State Department of Education in early March. The Finance Office also begins to monitor the local tax collections to determine the initial value of a mill and begin to develop the local revenue budget. Also in January, the principals, federal and state directors will meet with the superintendent and director of human resources to determine the projected allocations to be budgeted for each school and department to determine FTEs. And which they would also include the funding source which will be used and submit this information to the Finance Office. In late February, the superintendent and director of human resources along with principals compute the forecast for students for the new school year and determine teachers and staff FTCs by school location. These projections are submitted to the Finance Office to begin building the personnel budget. In March, the Director of Finance will prepare the preliminary first reading of the budget that reflects the projected revenue for upcoming fiscal year for the board's review and approval. The millage will be calculated based on consumer price index and the district's population growth as provided by the state to determine projected local revenues. And this comes from the Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office. A letter is sent to every district. In late March, the Finance Office will receive the projected teacher salary schedules and updated revenue projections from the State Department of Education. Also projected increases to the fringe benefits, items to include health and retirement will be forwarded to the districts. In the beginning of April, continued communication with the superintendent and human resources to review, update, and make decisions concerning the budgets for FTEs. The projections are submitted to the Finance Office to begin entering the personnel forms to process for the new fiscal year. The Finance Office will prepare the mandated teacher salary schedules from the State Department, and the bus drivers 2% is normally what it is. It can be a different 2%, but this year that's what it is. Increased schedule. Then all the other district employee salary schedules will be prepared once receiving directions from the superintendent. And that would include step or any percentages that the superintendent deems necessary. This is where we are now in the process of the budget. Late April and the beginning of May, the superintendent, human resources, and the director of finance will meet to continue to work on finalizing the staff needed to operate the district and submit FTCs with funding sources for the new fiscal year for finance to complete the projected salaries and fringe benefits costs for the second reading budget. This week of May, the Finance Office will run a report, first week of May, the Finance Office will run a report for the superintendent to review the prior year budget expenditures for purchases, services, supplies, equipment, and other budget items. The superintendent will make the necessary adjustments and provide the information to the Director of Finance to prepare the second reading of the budget. The Director of Finance will update the revenue projections from the first preliminary budget reading from the last and most updated State Department of Education projections. In May, the Director of Finance will present the second reading of the projected budget to the board for their review and their input to the superintendent before approval. After the second reading is approved, the superintendent, human resources, and the Director of Finance will review and adjust the projected budget based on the board comments and directions. The entire budget will be examined with emphasis on personnel, since the budget is primarily salary and fringe, including the last revenue projections from the State Department, South Carolina Department of Ed. Also, the expenditure changes will be made in an attempt to present a balanced budget for the third and final reading of the District General Fund Operations budget to the board the third week in June for the new fiscal year. Now we'll start with the slides unless there are any questions about the budget process. The slide, General Fund Budget Fiscal Year 2026-2027, this is our budget workshop. I would like to reiterate with the budget workshop the basis of the budget for FY 2026-2027 General Fund Budget. The strategy is to fund classrooms based on a statewide average student-teacher ratio of 11.23 to 1. The cost of a teacher's state minimum salary for a master's plus 12 years of experience and fringe state average. With state minimum teacher salary changes, costs will increase per cell by $2,000. District receives a share of state funds based upon weighted pupil unit and district's ability to pay. The next slide, the budget for Florence County School District 3 is 84% salary and benefits, and the 16% is the remaining budget for all other operations. Basis of a budget for 2026-2027 general fund budget. teacher pay, the state minimum teacher salary has been recommended for a $2,000 increase per cell, which we believe the Senate is going to approve, like they normally do when they increase the teacher's salary. And that minimum teacher salary will begin at $50,500. Bus drivers, 2% increase by proviso 117.141. Health insurance proviso 108.6 updates the state health plan to January 2027. It sets the employer premium at the present amount. There's no increase at this time that we have been given information. And the state retirement is to be determined. This next slide, it shows the revenue that was projected for our preliminary general fund budget. I thought I wrote the date down, but that was as of March, or April's board meeting. The revenues is local, is $9,458,535. The state is $8,002,029. The new formula, state aid to classrooms, is $17,560,597. The transfers is $227,000. These are estimates. We have not received projections from South Carolina Department of Education. The next slide shows this as a percentage of the local taxes is 27%. Our state aid to classroom revenue is 50%. Our state taxes is 22% revenue that we receive, and we receive about 1% with transfers, and that makes up our revenue projections. The next few slides shows the allocation of the local revenue. The next slide shows the total state revenue. And the following one shows the total transfers. Our next slide, budget comparison by object prior to the fund balance amounts being added. So this is what you initially approved for 2024-2025 in comparison to 2025-2026. We see listed to the left salaries with the object codes, which is salaries, benefits, purchase services, supplies and materials, capital outlay, other objects, and transfers. What you see in the third column, which is a comparison of FY 2025 and 2026 for 2024-2025. So what's in red, you see purchase services. We had a decrease in the budget, the original budget, of $3,334,287. So we had a difference of $1 million, which is a decrease, $1,123,711. We also had an increase in salaries, $248,866, benefits $132,103. Then we had a decrease in purchase services of $1,123,711. Supplies and materials did not change. Capital outlay, we had a decrease of $166,500. Objects, zero. Transfers, zero change. So our total change from 2025, from 2024, 2025, 2026, from 2024, 2025, was a decrease in our approved budget of $909,242. If you look at the fourth column and the fifth column, that is a comparison of 2025, 2026. And now we're looking at 2026, 2027. We will see an increase in salaries of $756,323, which is the last column. We also see an increase for benefits, $249,020. Purchase services, we have an increase of $1,123,000. $138,795. Supplies and materials, 0. Capital outlay, 0 change. Other objects, 0 change. And transfers, 0 change. When you look at the grand total for 2025-2026, which is $35,646,810, that fourth column. And then we look at the fifth column for fiscal year 2026-2027, the grand total is $37,790,948. So that's a difference of $2,144,138. If we move to the next slide, we will look at our projections for 2026-2027. So total revenues that was presented to you all in April board meeting, $35,248,161. Where we are in the budget process now, our total expenses are $37,790,948. So we are out of balance by $2,542,787. We are continuing to work to balance the budget. Our next slide.
Could we ask some questions?
Oh, of course, you can stop me at any time. Yes, ma'am.
I mean, why are we like that? What's happened? I mean, I know the teachers are getting a raise, but what else?
The teachers are getting a raise. Purchase services have increased.
And why is that? And what does that mean? Tell me what's the increase in purchase services?
Some of that has, some of our teachers are hired through other agencies, so we do have some teachers that are purchase service. We also have, some of our therapists, like speech therapists, OT, PT, all of those are considered purchase services.
But we've had those, so what's
Right.
happened?
Well, one issue is that a lot of those, therapists were paid out of the federal funds for IDEA, that's been cut. So when that was cut, then more had to go to the general fund, because we still have to provide those services. We also, we have the custodians, the agency we use at 3 of our schools, also comes from purchase services.
So that's new, that's a new thing to do, that's not new?
No.
They've always been paid from purchase service, so that shouldn't
And
make
you
any
remember, we had
increase or decrease.
to come to you guys in November and ask for the $1.2 million for purchase services, for this year. And
Cause
so,
it was cut.
It was taken out.
and so, and we've had to move more purchase services from IDEA into the general, fund because of the cuts there.
So if you need to go back to the 2024-2025 purchase service compared to 26-27, it's not near as big a difference. And we're basing it on last year's that was approved. If you go back to that previous year, it's not, you're talking 57,000, 73,000, not a big difference from what we're already spending.
Correct.
Just last year's the ones that got out of whack, I think.
It is.
That's what it was.
That's
Because it wasn't put in yet, am I correct on that?
They got taken out.
Okay.
But that was before or after we approved the budget?
That was before. When it was taken out.
So the 25, the 2 million, 2.5 million, we're off now, we're still having to find this somewhere else in this budget to try to take from. That's what we're trying to do.
If we go strictly by the 24-25 budget with purchase services, that's only $15,000 difference.
Yeah. So that's basically what we're using and what we need now, yeah.
Any other questions that? Well, if we look at the next slide, we thought it would be great to, put these details in here for budget, details. So when we always show you the salaries, the benefits, so on. So everyone knows what salaries and benefits are, I'm assuming. And purchase services, what includes that is classroom teachers, therapy, which we just spoke about with OEC, and that's therapy, speech, say again.
Occupational therapy. And
Occupational therapy and physical therapy, right? Okay, and ABA. A school psychologist, Kelly's services, maintenance, plumbers is in that, et cetera. International teacher fees, custodian services, others, and et cetera. Supplies and materials, student supplies, instructional, extracurriculum, teacher supplies, office supplies, student incentives and books, et cetera. Capital outlay, remodeling, construction, technology, equipment, and vehicles. 6 is other objects, which includes interest on bonds, lease, notes, membership dues and fees. And number 7, that's indirect costs that the general fund receives for any federal programs or any other grants that we have. We do the indirect cost that comes to us to run those programs.
So all that, repair work we had to do on the certain school last year, was that taken in out of this as well?
Take it easy, way.
All the repairs, as long as we're not talking about special obligation loans. Okay,
Let me ask a question.
yes.
Kelly service, that's the one that's the service that we use to,
Substitute teachers.
and so, is it better for us to use Kelly service than for us to pay, for us to employ the, substitute teachers?
And I know Angela can probably speak on this, but one of the reasons we went with Kelly Services several years ago was because we didn't have enough subs to fill the need. And I will tell you that Kelly Services sometimes fills positions that we haven't been able to hire. We're looking for somebody, but we don't have somebody currently, so a sub may step in. And so Kelly Services, they were able to provide us with more that we needed. And Angela, I'll let you add anything to that.
And you'll see that for the 26-27 school year, we actually have some employees that will be shifting into positions that are currently being held by Kelly Services.
Because Kelly Services, Ms. Paula, is a huge chunk. If you guys remember earlier in the year, I shared with you that it was about $350,000 last year, and this year it's looking like we're gonna be close to that again. Yeah,
So I'm asking the question, is it
That's
better for
just-
us to go back the way we were doing it and not, even though the service is helpful to us, but it's costly too. They're making the money. And so that's something I know we should look at there, as we're going through this budget.
So we are trying to remove as many long-term substitutes as possible. Now, of course, you'll still have daily subs that will be coming as well when teachers are in.
And you said this is part of those, remember when you came before us and just talked about positions, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And since we had this last request that I made, and you brought all this information forward, so some of those positions are now being filled with the changes we made.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And one example I can give you, if a student needs a CSA, they used to be called shadows, but because of their IEP, they have a person that has to be with them the whole time. Some of those positions were not filled, so they were filled by Kelly Services, because we had to have the person. And we're looking to move some people into some of those positions that will actually save money.
Like as a full-time employee instead of paying through that service.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we, when students have that need, does like Medicaid or any other federal programs help pay for those?
You have to provide that for your service for public schools, I think. It's mandated, you have to do that.
If the
It's mandated, but the government don't give us anything back.
correct, that,
Yes.
that's,
Well, we
this
can
case,
pay for it.
there's a lot of things that
Yeah,
Right.
And that's what we need to know.
Yeah.
That's
And when an IEP team meets and they determine, based on the child's need, that is, required, then it's up to the district to fund it, and we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
If the team says they need it, they got to have it. And I will tell you, we've had more students lately with CSAs. Especially those coming in at like late zero childhood, those young children, a lot of, positions there were put in place because of that.
So if we could just hire some of those full-time through our own district, it's gonna save some of the killers next year.
What's CSA stand for?
Child specific assistant.
Okay.
Say it again. Child specific assistant.
Okay, the next slide. Whenever we give you our I give the monthly update, and I do the PowerPoint. After that, you receive the total for the revenue for that month, and you also receive the expenditures by function. I've had a lot of questions about the functions, so we thought we would put that in there so you can see what every function represents on that report. Most of them include, the very first one, salaries and benefits and supplies and materials. Also, the next one is budget administration and support functions. These also include salary, benefits, travel, supplies and materials, printing, technology supplies. The next one is functions for budget operations funds. As you can see, it also includes in those water, lights, garbage, television, telephone, gas, energy, gas meters, custodial supplies, repairs and maintenance, includes pest control, landscaping, SROs, which are school resource officers, property insurance, rentals, and uniforms, maintenance supplies, school activities which are non-instructional. This very next slide, which we will go in a little further once I finish with the presentation, is showing a preliminary budget for each location. You see the district office has $6,284,183.17.
And that's not district office, that's district, so like an, occupational therapist or a physical therapist that serves multiple schools, they're listed under district. So that district is district staff, but it's also other people in the schools that serve multiple schools.
And do we have a comparison slide of these numbers for this budget?
I
Yes,
do.
ma'am.
I think that's
We're
when
gonna
we'll
get
start
that.
after this. I just wanted you to see the numbers first. Adult ed, $6,717.42, Lake City.
That's just the local funds, adult ed does receive federal funds, so that's the bulk of their funds.
Okay.
And that's why it's so low.
It looks a lot different than the rest.
That, yeah.
Lake City High School, alternative school, $523,252.81. Virtual Academy, $275,079. Lake City High School, $6,194,954.66. J.C. Lynch Elementary, $3,353,687.31. Olanta Magnet School, $2,424,632.83. Scranton Elementary, $3,863,082.83. Lake City Early Childhood, $3,931,884.14. Main Street Elementary, $2,759,354.86. J. Paul Trulup Magnet School, $4,415,138.11. Dr. Ronald E. McNair Junior High is $3,058,981.16. So the total that you see there is that $37,790,981.16. $948, and I showed you on the previous slide for the projection at this moment for 2026-2027 school year. Additionally, on the last page, that's additional resources for the fiscal annual manual, and that will take you to that on the State Department website.
And I'll send everyone a copy of this presentation when we finish tomorrow.
Okay, the very first one that we're looking at in your folder, at the top, it says budget version comparison. And as you look at this, it is a 5-year comparison. So that's why we went over the salaries, benefits, purchase services, supplies, and materials, capital outlay, other objects, and 7 for transfer, so you know what consists of in those. So at the very top, BB1 is for our projection as we're working for fiscal year 2026-2027 budget. And BB2 is fiscal year 2025-2026. BB3 is fiscal year 2024-2025. And BB4 is fiscal year 2023-2024. And BB5 is fiscal year 2022-2023. So if you look at the comparison that we're looking at now, the very first one, this is what the original approved budget. Those amounts. We're still working on the one for this year. If you go to the second one, same information, but if you look at the grand totals and compare them to the first one says original in the left-hand corner. This one, the second one, says amended budgets. So as you can see, those budgets have increased every year. From BB2, BB3, BB4, and BB5. And this has come from use of the fund balance. So in I'm gonna go backwards a little further. So 22-23 year, which is BB5, we requested from the fund balance $3,666,615. In that year, we were balancing the budget, and we used out of that $2,670,938 from the fund balance. Okay? Other usage is for Christmas bonuses and retention. The next one is BB4. The difference is $4,211,606. We use $2 million. I'm estimating $2,214,000. I believe I'm right. We asked for that to balance the budget, and the remainder of that was for Christmas bonuses and retention. BB3, which is the year 2024-2025, we requested $1.2 million, but we also had increased with others, but so that difference comes to $1,669,891. If you look at the amended budget for BB2, the difference is $5,553,007. So that one actually came from, and I should go back to the one 2024. Let me look at it first. 2024-2025. If you are interested in what was in that request, that was the one thing I'm showing the difference in. That was for to cover tuition fees, additional career lab, December bonuses, like I mentioned, retention bonuses, stipends for students, for club leaders, and technology needs. So I have that exact amount and breakdown for that one. The one for 24-25. One second. It ended up being a total of the $5,553,007. So there was a request, and I think that's in the last sheet of what we're gonna talk about, but I'm gonna just go say it right now. That request was $3 million for the stadium upgrades, which were approved September 2025, and also $1,200,000 to cover purchase services because there was a decrease. And we also asked for Christmas bonuses, and that was $786,213.52. Retention bonus, and it's your last page. The last page of everything that I gave you has that information. And so that $1,197,794.89, that included the Christmas and retention bonuses approved by the board November 2025. So I wanted to put this in here so you all are aware of what our fund balance remaining as of November 2025 is $2,078,421.11.
Say that again.
Okay, $10,078,421.11.
You gotta say it again.
Okay. Our remaining fund balance
It's on
as of November 2025, the very last page, yes.
Dr. Mims' heart dropped. He said 2 million.
Oh, God.
$2 million sounded
I
crazy.
know, I'm throwing so many numbers right now, you have to excuse me. But we should have it written for you, but it is 10 million,
There
not
was a
2
loose paper
million.
in there, Ms. Paul. There was a loose paper in your folder.
No, it's the very last sheet.
I mean, let's get it last.
Look in
Yes.
your folder.
I got
There's
that.
a bottle number on there.
Man, he getting a heart attack.
Yeah, she said 2, I was like,
I do apologize for that, it's 10 million.
That's why you got it.
All right, everyone's good?
Everybody wants back in their chair.
All right.
so,
It's on the sheet for you, yes, sir.
so the question is like, what we're actually going for now, all those previous years, what we actually passed, we end up spending more in all of those than what, when you look at that way, like, yeah, these were voted on, but then everything went up during the year more than what you had anyway.
That's
originally.
right, because there is an increase with teacher
For all kinds
salaries,
of things,
there's increase with purchase services,
stuff throughout the
contract
year,
services, they go up.
And most of the time, our budget process and timing doesn't always match up with what the state and house does, in regards to what they allocate us. But also, I will say, just from sitting here looking at this, that is why what we're doing tonight is so important to do in the beginning.
Yes.
So that less of this is having to be asked for throughout the year from the fund balance. When you intentionally sit and look and move it first, then you don't gotta come back and be moving $2 or $3 million because you allocated for most of it when you sit and do the budget work session, so.
Cause it kinda makes it look like you spent more than what you had planned on, if you do it up front, you know, cause people start asking questions, and it makes it look like, why we still have to come back and ask during the year the whole time, you know?
That's what kids had to come back and ask for.
Yeah.
Funny is, people didn't understand, but now you can see it's been being done every year.
Every single year's been done.
That's why I did the comparison, yes.
So at the 37 million this year, you still gotta predict a certain amount we'll need probably this year too. I mean, you don't ever know what comes, so it could go up too, even if you had to prove that.
And at this point, the Senate is not 100% sure that they're gonna have a balance, they're gonna approve their budget to get to us in time, so they're already talking about.
I read this morning, they
Yeah,
said probably a continuous.
So we still won't even know.
Yes, and I think, 2 years in a row, we ended up having to do a call meeting for the final budget again, because when we got the projections, they were lower than what we actually projected.
Okay.
So we did have a couple of them in July, we did a final, but we had to come back and do another adjusted final. in July.
I think what our problem is, or mine is that all I'm hearing all over town is teachers' salaries are being cut, principal salaries are being cut, all these salaries are being cut, and positions are being eliminated. I don't have an answer because it hasn't been explained to me. And that's, because you present us with these numbers, but we don't play a role in looking at how you got to the numbers. So I couldn't say, well, we're anticipating a drop in enrollment, so we're gonna have this much less money. I mean, I can't explain it because you haven't told me.
When I did the first preliminary, I believe I showed a graph on there that our student count was continuously
I saw that.
declining.
I
So
saw
it
that.
does play a factor. Also, teacher salaries are mandated, but it's also whatever they send to us in funding is based on an average. So we're not always getting the total amount of that 2,000 increase or that 2,500 increase because it's on an average. So that plays a part. Other fundings for other funds are decreasing for federal, and the general fund has to absorb it.
I get it, but
Yes,
nobody explained that,
Oh, yes, ma'am.
is what I'm saying.
Yes, ma'am.
I agree with Judy, I don't know with anybody else, but you have people complaining about their salaries are getting cut. And we can't say anything because we don't know why their salaries are getting cut. We don't know anything. And then the only thing I can go back to, I went back to the Evergreen Solution when they came and they did the research for us. And we then was the lowest salary in everybody around us. And so we gave an increase.
We did nothing with it.
Huh?
We did nothing with the salary stuff. We only did something for the classified.
Okay, but the class, okay,
But
that's.
And we never finished it. That's
But
the
didn't
problem.
we give the 8%, didn't we give the increase to them?
Only to classified,
Only to
bus drivers and custodians.
It's classified.
Nobody else got it.
Okay, even with that, some classified are getting cut, so it's just like when y'all came before us before, and I said, if somebody's making $19,000 a year, and then we were getting ready to take $3,000 from that person, that's not, we already the lowest district running, paying our employees. And then how do we expect to get employees to come and work? I understand that, about the budget, I understand, and I'm glad that I asked for this workshop, because I needed it. This is for me, I needed it. So I'm understanding some more, more about the budget. But what I want us to look at is that the workshop that Julie and I went to in Columbia, and I wish that all of us was there. This is what they said. If you have to cut, you start with the district office first. And if you have APs, if you got 3 and 4 APs at this school, you don't even, that's what you got. But it seemed like we didn't do it. It seemed like we went to the bottom. I'm already at the bottom. And now you come and cut me. And like I told y'all at the other book, the last board meeting, it's not fair to me that I'm making 19,000. Now you cut me to 16,000. What am I gonna do? When the district office didn't get cut, you're still at where you're at. And so this is the thing I'm saying, I know we have to do what we gotta do to make sure the budget get balanced. And I understand every year, and I think it's been more than 2 years, hope as far as for waiting until the state tell us exactly what it's gonna be. Because for years they've been telling us per child we're gonna get this, but we couldn't go off of that, we had to wait, But the only thing I'm saying here is that let's take an overall look at everybody when we have to balance the budget. Don't let me suffer for you to balance the budget. That's the thing that I'm saying there. But I know that we have to balance the budget, I know.
Right, and it's small, if I can speak on that for a
Please.
moment, and then when it comes to my presentation, you'll see a little bit more.
Please.
Okay. One, I can tell you that one of the things that we brought to the board that we had to do, we had to make sure that we were being fair and equitable across all of our positions.
some employees were above their pay, like band, that's what we don't know, like, how did they get like you said, if someone was like in a K, supposed to be in a D, like all those different levels, how did people get above that and having to go backwards now? That was, we never heard of any of that stuff, I mean, why that happened there.
So I'll tell you, as far as the instructional assistants were concerned, when we had COVID, right? And during that time, we had to socially distance. So we had, for example, a teacher had 10 kids from her roster in a classroom with her. And then we had an assistant in a classroom right beside them. And they were their team, kind of going back and forth. Those individuals, they were placed on the F salary schedule, which is your academic intervention assistants. They knew that when ESSA was over, when COVID was done, they were supposed to move back to the D salary schedule. We did not do that.
So they just got to stay there for all that time, and now it's just happening years later. Okay.
So that's one of the reasons. We also had some of our administrative staff as well. They were paid on a teacher scale rather than the administrative scale that they should be on. So we had to make that correction as well.
Yeah, which that's still kind of confusing why teacher scale you'd be making more as an administrator. It makes no sense at all. That's a big thing in our policy. I think needs to be
Well,
looked
I
at.
can address that,
Yeah,
because I think I spoke to you before, going to the finance roundtable. All directors of finance have been fussing about that or upset about it. Because there is a mandate to increase the teachers every year for the past 4 to 5 years. And there's funding, but there is no funding to increase the administrators.
But administrators has never gotten, your teachers are gonna pass your administrators, so
And
what's the I mean, so how are you gonna,
That's what they were
administrators are
saying.
gonna leave, or you gonna lose good people because of it?
But did somebody tell us that? Did they say we're giving the teachers this raise, but the administrators aren't getting any raise?
They mandate the teacher raises every year.
No, I
And
get
the
it.
Every year
funding.
we were told.
I got
But
that.
there is no funding to increase the administrators.
I know
Yeah, she
there's
said
no
that
state
she told
funding, but we have money. We could
I'm
have
saying,
done that.
we can
Yes.
adjust our pay
We
scale
can do
for
that.
administrators. is what
Yes,
I'm saying.
ma'am,
gotta
we
find-
can, but it hasn't been being done.
That's what I'm saying, but I think we need to, because it's been 4 or 5 years already that it hasn't happened. And, I mean, right now, I have plenty of administrators come to me that they can make more as a daily rate as a teacher than as an administrator. So you're working more days, going to more school, more education, and you're not valued as much as just a regular teacher, and being an administrative role is just not, that's not right. Like, we need to adjust our administrative scale somehow.
That was
And it's not just our district, it's across South
We
Carolina.
do it with, I don't mind increasing nothing, as long as somebody tells me where to get the money from.
But there's a lot of the districts that are paying more, they find it somehow, there's a way to balance it. I mean, other districts are doing it.
Wait a minute, now that's what I wanna know. I don't mind no increases, I don't mind no increases. Cause everybody who in the school system deserves an increase. Where we gonna get it from? And if we get it from the general fund, when the general fund run out, what do we do?
Well, I will answer this for you. On our schedules that I mentioned, we have schedules for teachers that mandate their increase, and we also have schedules for administrators. We have schedules for classified. They are getting a step increase, but they're not getting the same increase that are mandated by our teacher. But we have schedules for every step of every year that people have their experience. The increase is just not as much
Yeah, so
as
you
what
end
we
up passing
have
something.
mandated to us, but we do have schedules for
I
everyone.
understand that, but I
Yes,
still
ma'am.
say, I don't mind, when we come here and we say bonus, right, we know where that bonus coming from. But if you keep taking out the pot, taking out the pot, taking out the pot, when the pot get empty, where we go to? Now, if people still don't want the increase. You ever heard that thing, don't start nothing, there won't be nothing. Let's not start nothing if we can't keep up with something. So you tell me, if we're gonna get it from the general fund, or she have a heart attack down there, and then when the heart attack time comes and we ain't got no more money, then what we do? Where do we go from here? I want everybody to get an increase, don't get me wrong. But I'm playing the devil's advocate here.
We'll go into a deficit.
But you can't steady
And
get
we
it,
don't have
teachers
well,
can't steady get the
What
pay,
has to
not
happen,
fix it.
what has to happen at this point, while we're here, is some cuts have to come from somewhere
Yeah.
to
Thank
address
you.
that.
Thank
We
you.
gotta look and figure out where the cuts
Where we
can
can fix
come to make sure that we can do that, but we also gotta go back to the salary study that we paid for.
Original.
And this
That
is
these
why-
people told us we need to move these people up, and when you find the money, you put it where it needs to go so that we make that jump. It cannot be, because I remember one of my colleagues up here saying, Dr. Mims, do not use money from the fund balance to pay salaries.
Thank
We
you.
cannot do that, because then we ain't gonna have none.
But we seem to be doing that every year.
Yep.
Yeah, we're steady pulling money from for something every year.
So let's get some cutting going.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
We have to find
We
it
can do
somewhere.
anything we want to, but we got to take that salary study, gotta do that first, right? And then we got to find the money. Now, everybody said they won't no cut, right? Well, say they will divide, I'm on the bottom, I don't want no cut.
Well, I said,
Okay, but what? You're lying about when you interrupt me now. Come on now, come on, come on. We got a new superintendent. When you want increases, I did budgets for 30-some years. Okay, let me tell you one thing. It's the hardest thing in the world when you have to cut. It's the hardest, and when people are low. I remember low salary people, okay? But we're doing this with our head, not here. We're doing this with our head, not here. Okay? And I can tell anybody, somebody comes, well, why are we not doing it? Please help me, because right now, I can't find a way to do it. But if you got an idea, I ain't gonna pay no, oh, woe is me. If you got an idea, please help me, so I can take it back to the board, because we didn't think of that. Maybe they will help us. I know. How do I know? But I'm not gonna go out there and just woe is me to nobody, because I know what it takes. You have to cut. And there's always gonna be somebody hurt. We can't take care of everybody. So we gotta put that in that thing first. And take your heart, drop it right out there at that door. And come in here with your head and start thinking of what we're gonna do. And there's always a famous saying. It's all about the who. Who is it about, Paula? The children. It's all about the children. And that's why if I don't say so on that, it's all about the children and what we can get for these kids, okay?
And that's what the budget workshop was about, right? That was all
I'm finished.
about the children, it was all about the children. So I still say, yeah, we have to cut, but when we do cut, if we have to cut again, let's start from the top instead of starting from the bottom. Because, and I stand on this, because if you ain't never been there, then you don't know how it is. So I still say, well, we got to balance the budget, we got to cut, let's start from the top. And then not stop, don't start where somebody's making $19,000 a year. You know, and the budget workshop that's what it was about. That's what the presenter said.
Because if we're united in how we're doing this, we can sell it to the community.
Yes.
But if we don't know why and what y'all have decided, I can't do that. I mean, it really looks terrible to say to somebody, you know, we had an employee that was making $19,000 a year, and now that we've cut it to $16,000. Do you know how that sounds? Because $19,000 is not a living wage anyway, and then you cut it to $16,000. That's terrible. I mean, but we could defend it if we knew why.
It comes from a lack of oversight.
Thank you.
It comes from a lack
From
of
a lack of
oversight.
oversight,
Yeah.
and people not answering enough questions on the end, and guess who in that vote? Guess who vote for the budget? Everybody who vote for the budget, raise your hand. Every last one of us, so don't put it in one place. Y'all know how that is. This is no place to go all the way around, starting up right here. Cause we got 3 jobs. Superintendent, budget, superintendent, budget, and policy. That's on 2. Everybody sitting up here. So don't just start over there talking about at the district office. We gotta start everywhere. And we got to find out what's necessary for our children. I'm not gonna say start at no district office. Maybe there's something over there we need, okay? I would say look at the whole thing. So that's what you do when you do a budget. You look at the whole thing. I don't know what shop y'all went to. I know what I did, and I made a profit every year. You can call them right now, give them their number. We look at the whole thing, okay? No, I forgot the new superintendent. I'm sorry.
Let's go.
I'm sorry, Mr.
From
Seuss.
day forward, we just need transparency
Yes.
across the board,
Yes.
because it's so hard when, you know, people are calling you and they're talking about their salary and everything being cut. And then people are leaving because they're upset. So, you know, we don't know what happened from the past, what, you know, with the steps and all of that, how they got to where they are. And then it's hard to correct it, you know, and they'll call us. You know, and it's not for me to try to explain, you know, that to them. I listen and everything, but we just need transparency.
So
you know.
tell us what we need
Starting from
to
now.
do.
Thank you.
Your recommendations, what we need.
The last thing is just a comparison by location for the 5 years, and I'm finished with my presentation. That's the one before the last, just so you can see each year how the school's, budget were by salary, benefits, purchase services, and so on, each location. Each location. Okay? And that's all I kinda have to present to you all, because I wanted you to see the comparison from one year to another, and so on and so forth.
Thank you so much, and this is something that we needed, whether we've been up here 1 year or 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay, we all needed this, and if we can't learn something every day, then we need to be away from them. Lord, I got the superintendent.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
you
much.
ain't gonna quit, Mr. Petty.
Thank you,
And thank you all, I appreciate us having it too, 'cause I love to inform and help understand this, I have no problem with it.
And I know you tried to do this once before. You tried to do this once before, I never did nothing, but something held you back. But I appreciate you having the courage to come before us now. And, like I said, we are in this together.
We all gotta find a way.
Yes, thank you.
I will say this,
Thank you so much.
I will say this, honestly, it's not the only district going through this, this is a national trend. It's, in every state, in every district, across the nation. Even where I came from, we're dealing with the same type of situation, making tough decisions. In order to, as they call it, right size, to meet the needs of our, district, and to meet the needs of our students. So, we're not the only one that's doing it. Other districts are making tough decisions as well.
Thank you.
Alright, so we're gonna transition to, Miss Angela, Scott now. And we're gonna be touching on some of those things that y'all already brought up.
Okay.
So I have shared these allocation sheets with you before, but before I only shared your teacher allocations. We actually, tonight, we're presenting the full staff allocation for each one of the locations. You'll actually see, that first light colored column is your 25-26 school year. It shows you, for example, at Lake City Early Childhood Center, there were 2 pre-K teachers, 4K teachers. We anticipate an enrollment of 40, and so there would be an allocation of 2 teachers. There is no difference, that last column shows that there is no difference in allocation for that 4K positions that are there. As you're coming down, you will see that, for example, PE, a 1.0 was actually allocated for the 25-26 school year. We are recommending a 0.6 allocation for 26-27, which would be a decrease of 0.4. With this individual, they will be sharing schools. They'll be working at 2 different schools.
What school is it?
This is Lake City Early Childhood Center.
At the top.
Now, we also have instructional coaches at each one of our locations as well, so they're not providing instruction on their own. They're actually under the direction of a certified teacher. I will also say that one thing with Lake City Early Childhood Center, we had several of our AIAPCs who were not making progress toward certification. We removed them, we kind of transferred them to another position, and we are working towards certified teachers in that school.
Ms. Scott, would this speak to why on 2 slides before Lake City Early Childhood Center reflects $3,931,800?
Correct.
And even where it says SPED, that's special ed, that's a lot of those that I mentioned earlier that have to have that CSA because of their IEP, so that's why there's more positions there.
I just wanted to ask for the clarification as to why.
And those are ones to Kelly Services, and then we're trying to offer some, or?
We're trying to shift some more into, I'm regular, but yes, some of those
That's what,
currently
so
are.
that cost it goes on, yeah.
If you look at Main Street Elementary, so Main Street Elementary begins at 3rd grade, and you can see that while we have the number 85 students there, because that's how many will be coming up to Main Street Elementary, we do know that some students will be, will go to the charter school.
We usually lose, if we go on what happened this year, about 20 years.
Main Street Elementary is also a school that had several AIA pending certification, individuals who have not made progress towards certification. And we are working to put certified teachers at that school.
Ms. Angela, when you say have not, right, how long have they been doing it?
So we have one individual who has been in that status for 8 years.
So with those 2 schools, you said you had a lot of those that have to maintain, when we do hire, that's gonna change kind of our payroll stuff too, right? Because certified teachers are gonna get paid more than what we've been using for these teachers, so that's gonna change our payroll too, so, right?
Yes, and now we've already made those transfers.
That stuff's in there for full-time, okay,
Yes.
gotcha.
So that's been the longest one, that 8 years?
Yes, ma'am, that was the longest one.
And everything in between the 8 years.
I'm just playing the devil's advocate again.
Main Street Elementary is also a school that, have teachers that have multiple locations that they serve.
So that 85, you're saying that's the total number that we say we're moving, but we could lose 20 to 85, right?
Yes.
So that's, we don't know for sure with that 85, so that could go to 65 or so, I mean.
Correct, and if we base it on this past year, that's.
It's probably around 65, okay.
So we're expecting that to be on about.
Okay.
If you look at J.C. Lynch, for the 25-26 school year, that pre-kindergarten is a combination of our Montessori as well as 4K. For 26-27, we will not have the multi-age Montessori. There will be 2 4K classes, 2 kindergarten classes as well.
So is Main Street the only school we're losing students to go to the charter school?
We don't know at this time, Ms. Ryerson, but, the bulk of the kids that went this past year is what we can base it on, did come from Main Street, because they have the grades 3, 4, 5. Now, they are adding on the 6th grade, so that's another grade level that they're adding. But the bulk of the kids that left did come from Main Street. However, we did lose a couple from other schools like Atlanta, Scranton, and even J.C. Lynch. But the bulk
Majority, yeah.
was Main Street.
at Atlanta Creative Arts and Science Magnet School. And because of their enrollment, most of your related arts teachers are split. They go to different locations.
So what are you anticipating the enrollment's gonna be at Atlanta?
155? Is that the right number, 155
Yes,
thousand?
that's what we're looking at this time.
I think currently it's 166 for this school year, right, as of like this week. 166.
So the thing is going to 155. And that's just one teacher per grade there, right?
Correct,
That's just
correct.
one per grade, that's it.
Looking at Scranton Elementary. Based on student enrollment, you can see that there are some positions that have been reduced. One thing to keep in mind is that Scranton Elementary actually had several additional teachers that some of the other schools did not have. So it looks like there are more teachers being removed, but this is based on the student numbers.
But they aren't losing students.
No, ma'am, but they had extra teachers. They had more, for several of them, they had a class size reduction teacher at every grade level.
So
Which
when
is
you-
probably really needed,
Yeah.
which is actually needed,
So if you're looking at, ratio, state ratio,
because we, yeah,
and you're looking at, since all schools are Title I, you have to be in compliance with ratios with Title I schools. So if you have one school that has more than the Title I school, that have more staff than another school, then that's a comparability issue, and we can get dinged for that in Title I. If you have a Title I, if you're a Title I school.
so if a Title I school has 25 students to one teacher.
Yeah.
That's the way it has to be in order to get that money.
Yeah, if you.
So we can't break that
That's
classroom
compliance.
down
Yeah.
to 15 and 10.
Yeah, so if you have, that's correct, so if you have,
So they won't let us improve our schools by breaking our, like having smaller classrooms
yeah,
in order for us to have more money.
yeah.
Yeah,
you
we
know,
had to do it everywhere.
So there's the general fund that we utilize first, right? So for instance, it's called, the supplemental, not supplanting. So you're supplementing, you're supplanting if you add more teacher positions to a school and not to another. In Title I, you can use Title I funding to create positions because that's supplemental. So that's the difference. So if we come in, if they have a monthly visit or audit, and it's not comparable, then we can get dinged for that. And that's any district across the
So if
nation.
we go and we put extra teachers in every class, in every school,
Yeah.
then we would still be in compliance.
We'll be able to do it. Yeah. But
So
if you
that's
have,
what
if
we
you have,
need to work on doing.
if you have two,
I
Yeah,
know that's gonna be a
two-
hard job. That's what my goal is to try and get more teachers in schools. Because our classroom sizes are way too big. When you have 30 students or almost 30 students in a classroom, that's too much. Our kids are not learning and it's reflecting.
And to receive those funds, we have to send a report
Yeah.
every year to show comparability,
Yeah.
every year. So that's something I do, so I didn't know exactly what he's talking about with Title I. There's always rules and regs in order to receive federal grant money. They don't just give it to us and say spend as you please. There's purse strings to it, is what I call it. And we got to be in compliance in order to continue to receive the money.
And if we're not, then they'll take more from us.
We have Ronald E. McNair. As well, anticipating $250,000 available. Those individual positions have been reduced. Not the individuals, but the position.
Okay, Ms. Angela, here we go with the position.
Yes, ma'am.
With the positions, now, we wanna be clear about this right here, the
Yes.
positions, right? Say it one more time.
Yeah, so, when we look at staffing schools, the first thing we look at is positions. We look at what is needed for that school. And then you, of course, hire the people to fill those positions. I will say that the one thing that, I think Florence Lee has done a great job of is not terminating any one person. Our people are not losing their jobs. They are being transferred to different positions that are actually available
And needed.
and needed.
And that's what they don't like.
Yes, ma'am.
So there are some people, you know, and, for some people, they wanna remain at that school, they wanna remain in this position.
But I take
That's
a job
okay.
over no time.
All about the children.
You'll also see here, there's a reduction in the administrative staff at Ronald McNair.
Okay.
There's also a reduction at Lake City Early Childhood Center of 0.5 as well. When you're looking at J. Paul Trulip, we actually have not had a lot of change at J. Paul Trulip. Looking at the high school,
You can't look, you really lost. You have to put it down and just flip it over.
It's a flip over.
Yeah, I apologize, I didn't know the printer did that.
Yeah.
See if you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
Sorry, you get no papers all this stuff.
I'm not old.
I got that bottle paper because I didn't know what to do with it.
you will also see that at Lake City High School, there's not a lot of movement. We actually had an additional 0.6 music position that was at Lake City Early Childhood Center, so that's that negative 0.6. And then we had some federal funds cut for the instructional assistant and AIA position that was there.
AI.
Academic intervention assistant. You'll also see as well that, yes,
There's two principals at Lake City High School?
so yes. We actually have one, Mr. Cook, who is Lake City High School, and then we actually have Mr. Burgess, who served as 0.5.
I
This
thought
year,
because it was a comprehensive high school, you could only have
One principal of the whole entire thing, yeah.
Has it always had two principals?
It's never had that, no.
It is, they
There
have
was a
cemetery.
recommendation
Well,
made.
wait a minute, y'all gotta go back, Paula can explain.
Yeah,
Go
we
ahead,
just-
Paula,
we
tell
just
them how you want it, tell them what you
Yeah.
want. Everybody, y'all be forgetting meetings.
Just a
Remember, y'all didn't want them people out there in them buildings. Miss, Julia didn't want the people out there in them buildings. So Paula asked Mr. Blake, am I right or wrong? Said, we not you.
But it was decided in this meeting.
Let me ask you, did not one time we had, the cemetery with the Florence?
Yes,
Did not one time you had she was doing this?
she was called she was the, ninth grade principal, I think.
Yeah.
At the time. But to answer the question, yes, Lake City High School is considered a comprehensive high school, which means you have high school and CTE
It's
all
all
under
one.
one umbrella, which is why we have it listed there, and on everything at the state level, we are one, one comprehensive high
that we're not supposed to do that.
One at the CTE building and one at high
It's
school.
not supposed to be just one for the whole entire campus.
Correct.
So we have to correct that, right?
So that's not showing on here that we've taken one from there, right? I mean, it's staying 2 and 2.
As of right now,
Okay.
you know, on this date.
Okay.
Now, I will also say, just below that, assistant principal, there was also an assistant principal that was placed in CTE.
So we had 2 and 2 originally like that too.
Correct. We actually are reducing that to a 0.5, and looking at that individual actually teaching as well.
But if you go by just the one principal, then you wouldn't even need an assistant there either, right? At all, you wouldn't need a principal or an assistant over the K if it's all under the high school all in one.
That's right, based
So
on
you
the
could lose another
numbers,
1.5 technically, you know,
based on
a
the
whole
numbers and
1.5.
requirements, yes.
You could lose another 1.5 administrators technically there.
Is it she retiring, is it she leaving us?
I don't have anything official.
So are we looking into this principal thing, or we don't, or what, I mean, what's the, reduce it back to one, or what are we doing, playing with it?
Well, actually, Dr. Schuber and I kind of had a brief conversation today talking about, because I'm not sure as to why this was done, I was not part of that, and so, that's one thing we're looking at.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out. Okay.
But I will say this, if, going back to principalship, if my name is on the report card, at the end, good or bad, it's gonna be because of my leadership told me.
Yeah.
Make that happen.
Yeah, because there's one report card. for
There's
the
one-
high
there's
school.
one report.
CTE is part of that report card.
Cause the kids from there go there, it's all part of that, yeah, high school program. Thank you.
But some counties, because I know Darlington County has a separate career technology center, so they're not under.
No, I mean, they have their own advanced
They
code,
have their own
and at
advanced
the
code.
state, they are considered a
So
totally
they
separate
consider-
school.
So how do we get that?
What's the advantage of that?
Ours will be, because our high school kids use the
There is,
K,
it's not really an advantage, it's just that they run their own school, it's just a separate school.
And their kids only go to that school, you can't go back and forth.
But, opening a new school,
Right, saying our careers, separate out K from the high school.
our size is so small and
you can't have a full school, cause all the students
I'm
would have to
just
stay
yeah,
in
yeah.
one school.
So for instance, with, where I'm coming from, with 5 high schools that have over 2,000 students, K is a part of the high school, the comprehensive program. The only thing that I would say that would be a magnet school within the high school, where you have a lead, but not a principal. That lead would still be under the principal.
Yeah.
Because if you get a FSD code, a separate school, then that means you've got to have your secretary,
Yeah.
your bookkeeper, all those positions have to be solely for that site.
And the kids would crisscross from the high school to the K, they'd have just their classes there, the class there, or would they still be
They
able
would
to go
still
back?
have to
Yeah.
crisscross, because the core content.
That's what I'm saying, you can't have just a K school with just those classes.
It'll be like, for instance, we have programs such as, gifted and talented and honors,
Yeah.
right? So K is similar to that. So you wouldn't have a principal for gifted and talented, ESOL and all those different programs. You would have it over,
Yeah.
because that principal would be the one, the instructional leader of that school. If you create different bed schools, you're creating a whole nother school, and that would cause you to staff that. But there's more money we would have to give,
Yes,
more money lost.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I guess it's not explained down there, here and there, so I just wanted to see how it works, so.
You also have the alternative program staffing sheet as well. There were no changes with alternative program. And then your virtual program. And that should actually be, 6 months. We actually have one teacher that, will be part-time.
Alright. So on the negative, one to the left over, it should be negative, okay. showing a whole, like they're actually seeing it eye to eye, you know, seeing the difference and stuff now, so.
And so a teacher's paid on the 190 days, is what their pay is. Administrators, some APs at the elementary level were 210 days, high school is 220, principals, district staff were 240. So there's a difference in days at the different levels. As you can see on the, and I'll let Ms. Scott kind of take you through this, but this is the purpose of this for you to see.
So you actually have two different sets. If you look at the very top, one says daily rate. If you look at that one first, all of your administrative salaries are actually in gold. Okay? So you can see that as far as a daily rate is concerned, because that first individual, I would take their base salary of $77,484, divide that by 190 days. So their daily rate would be $407.81. So you can see the ones in gold, those are your administrative salaries and where they fall within the individuals who are certified. Your second packet at the very top, you will see that that's based on the hourly rate.
Because administrative work 8 compared to 7.5, so it changes a whole lot with the hourly rate.
It does. Are there any questions?
So what is the salary supply or
Yes.
supplement?
So over the last 4 years where we have had an increase, the first year we received an increase, it was $4,000. And then it was $2,500. So your administrators are receiving $6,500 for those first 2 years. It has not been added into their salary. It's an additional supplement.
Is that added into their hourly and daily rate?
It is, yes. But you will see that the last 2 years where there have been an increase with teachers, administrators have not received that. Yes. I will also say as well, this is the base salary for everyone. So you have individuals who are receiving stipends for additional duties. That's not included within this.
Well, that's more work that they're doing, so.
But not all administrators are doing additional though, some it's not all of them, it's only just here and there, whoever's picking up extra stuff. Like if you got one that's driving a bus or something, that's an additional duty or something.
You'll also see that here we have not included the stipends that they receive for their degree level or their number of certified staff or student enrollment. This is just your base.
So basically, this shows that there's some work that needs to be done on the pay scale.
Yes.
Who has the, salary study? You have that?
We do that.
When can that be presented back to us?
So we're gonna get together,
Yeah.
we're gonna get together and
Okay.
stuff, we need to see this,
Because
go over it and check it.
And there may be a need for us to reach back out to them because of how long it was.
Yeah.
No, oh, she got it.
She has a copy of it.
But yeah, there's probably a need for us to reach back out to them.
Ms. Paul, what was the date on that? Dr. Seaver was asking me the date, and I couldn't remember the exact date. Is there a date on there?
It was released February 20th, 2023.
Yeah,
Two thousand and twenty-three.
Thank you.
Your study was done? Yeah. And then,
So right now, with that $2.5 million deficit, where are we starting at? We're trying to balance that. Do you have any idea yet, or we just starting there trying to figure that out?
We're starting,
Okay.
and we're looking at things, I was talking to Dr. Seaver, a lot to take in on the first day.
Yeah, I mean, plus we don't have final numbers from Columbia.
Right,
yet,
and we
so-
do not have final numbers,
on
and
anything.
based on what was in the news this morning, it looks like it's gonna be later than what they
So it's
told
even
us
pushed
it's gonna be. So instead of this month, we may be looking into June before we have final numbers from, the state. So in between now and then, we're gonna be constantly looking at things that we can do to get that lower.
One of the things that I think is a natural way to do it is the attrition that we're already losing. We're already lost. And I'm hoping I'm not stepping on the limb. So, but I wanna, definitely look at attrition first, because that's a natural way to do it. But also look at the effectiveness of essential positions that are needed to, meet the needs of our students. But also leaders who are leading our teachers instructional. So that's one thing we want to look at first.
And we don't know all the vacancies we may have because contracts, remember that new law, we had to have everything out by, April 30th. They have until May 10th to sign the contract. So after May 10th, we will know who has signed the contract and who has not.
Okay.
And so we always get more information.
So they have to be signed by like that, right? If they're staying in our
Yeah, if
district.
they're-
If not, they have to be signed somewhere else, right?
Or put in,
Or
put
so,
in
yeah,
design.
okay.
Can I finish that though? Once that May 10th, we're gonna be doing forms coming from HR to finance. So that week is gonna be a long week. Cause we're gonna have to decide if people don't sign or don't come, we have to look at the budget again, we have to do forms and have those put in the system, our accounting system. So there's a lot of transition in the month of May.
Then if people don't sign, then we have to put advertisements out for positions, right? If
Yes.
they don't want to, we have to make sure we start advertising to try to fill their spots.
If they are gonna keep, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you gotta be the week.
Yeah.
Are we gonna be having teachers for Teach for America this coming year, or any, international teachers this coming year?
So we do have, international teachers scheduled to come in. I wanna say at this point we have 5 that will be new coming on to the district. As far as TFA, we've been working with them since January. They actually haven't had anyone for us, but I did get an email today that says that they may have 1 person.
How many international do we lose from that, their contract with the time was over, do you know? So I think we're having some going out, now we get some, just seeing how much to transfer and over.
Yes. So we are losing. I said there are 7 individuals that we're losing.
And then we're already replacing with 5 we know of.
And now
So
in
we're gonna
May,
get 5 new ones coming, so that makes it down 2, if you look at it that way, I guess.
now I will
They've
say
only been here for so
that,
many years, and they have to go back to their country, yeah. It's just a release for, cause how many years are they on contract?
well, they're on an annual contract.
Annual.
Generally, they're here for 3 years.
About 3
They
years.
can get an extension most of the time, depending on what country, for an additional 2 years.
So 5 is the max they can stay before they have to go back.
Yes.
Okay.
What I also say too is that, we look at just hiring the best teacher for the position.
Yeah.
So like some of the positions that we're losing an international teacher for, it may be a different position that we're hiring.
Yeah, it's not just automatically filling where they can't be.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's Paula.
Let's go back to you.
Okay.
How important is the finances from our athletic department? How important is that to our budget? To do that, do they have something, you know what I'm saying? Is that added to our budget?
Yes.
Okay, the question I wanna ask. why can't we do like the other schools are doing, as far as for, we're still taking cash. And everybody has moved to the digital. And now we have Sonic making the money that we can make. Sonic is making the money that our district can make, only because we don't have
You're talking about concessions?
concession or whatever, you know, so why can't we change, change and come up the date?
So Ms. Paula, one of the things that, we would like to do is to make sure that you have a clear picture of the amount of funds that were being collected when we were handling concessions versus with Sonic. Because Sonic actually pays us,
So how much, what does Sonic pay us?
depending on the sport.
Okay, let me ask this,
Yes, ma'am.
what Sonic pay us, is it just as much or more that we were making, we were doing it ourselves?
Yes, ma'am. In a lot of cases it is. One thing to keep in mind as well is when we are doing it, we also have to staff that as well.
So you have to pay those people to do that out of the money that you're making.
But I thought we had the band booster, I'm not band, but the booster club, I don't know all that stuff, don't we have people that volunteer?
Oh, I can tell you, Ms. Paula, that from when I was doing it, we had band booster and we had, athletic booster that helped with some of the concessions. Over time, we haven't had as much support in people showing up and doing stuff, with that. And you also, which is always a concern, is having non-employees handling money. That's an issue too.
I won't go there because.
Yeah.
I know some years back, I know, we'll go back, we ain't going back, we're going forward.
Yeah.
So let me ask this right here, even with that, let Sonic do it, but when we, at the gate, can we move up to the technology and up, how much we charging per game? Per game, is what, $7, $8?
$10.
We at $10 now?
Everybody's team.
Raise it up.
Yeah, I think everybody's team.
And is that rate set by the high school league or something?
They do set the rates for like playoff games and
Right.
things like that, they'll tell you what you have to charge. And everybody's pretty much in line.
With that.
Playoffs are
Okay.
$12 that they regulate, and I think regular season all, everybody's 10, so they up it by $2.
I'm just looking at another way that maybe revenues could
Right.
come in, so that's why I asked.
Who's supposed to pay?
Yes.
And I'm not being cheap, I'm asking that because
Yes.
whenever I do go, and whoever's at the gate, and I had to go, you board member, they won't take my money, so I was just.
Don't
Yeah.
tell on them, don't get it.
Ms. Rita, you can always make a donation. If they will take your money, you want to take your
Staff
money.
members get anything from it around?
For home games,
Yeah,
staff members can get in,
Okay, that's.
but like if it's a playoff game,
Not
they would
playoffs,
have
you
the high
can't,
school.
but just
league
regular
pass.
home game staff get in without.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, circling back to this, are we gonna have another budget work session once we have final numbers? So that we can more definitively look at what has to be cut and what we need to be doing, probably like June.
Cause our next meeting is May 28th, and we still won't know
We
anything.
can't do it
on it. I mean, we gotta vote on the second reading though, right, at that meeting, even though nothing will be finalized at May 28th, right?
Right.
Okay, so I mean, that just won't be a finalized budget, we just gotta go through it and, okay.
Let's see where we are.
But these will be numbers. These will be numbers. Casey, you know what I'm trying to say.
These are
Come on,
just
man, I
projections.
mean, come on,
Well,
everybody.
I will tell you, at May, it will just be projections, because we won't have final
But
numbers
they
from
be
the state.
right projections.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay.
We don't have final numbers, like I said, it's probably gonna be June.
I'm not asking for final numbers, I'm talking about
Okay.
numbers for projections that they gonna.
So,
So that's the question, yes.
I guess we'll
Yes.
come back in June.
Yes.
Yeah, once we get past that meeting, get more information.
Okay.
Before we go, what time?
Because of Lake City being art city, it seems like our art teachers aren't interested in art with the students anymore. I mean, they aren't showing interest, they aren't even representing the students. Are they certified?
Whatever, kid.
Board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion by Ms. Mandy Thomas and a second by Mr. Shaquille Brown. Is there any discussion? None being noted, all in favor to adjourn, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.